So let's fill everybody in kind of on the background of Bellflower, how to get started, what's your background in film? I mean, how did this all come out?
Oh wow, that's a lot of different questions, sort of.
Just take one at a time.
Okay.
What's your background?
I really nothing, just film. I've been making tons and tons of short films with my friends for years, thinking it would lead to getting our first feature funded. Like I moved out to LA when I was 21. It's like 10 years ago now. And after a certain amount of time, it never happened. We had the script, and it seemed like no one was going to help us, so we decided to make it on our own. So it's basically a zero-budget movie. There's 11 of us, casting crew, that worked on it for almost 4 years. And then it got into Sundance this January, which is like the first significant thing that had happened in almost everyone that worked on this movie has almost no like background that anybody would know about except for
Indy. And you were talking earlier about how that was your first festival you ever submitted to. I mean, you just did it blindly, just to Sundance.
Yes,
on a whim.
I wasn't that confident. I didn't understand how the festivals worked. So I knew they were out there, but I didn't really understand how it worked. So I'd never submitted anything to them before, and someone talked me into it because we had finished this movie and where we all liked it, but we couldn't figure out how to get it out there. And one of my friends was like, "The Sundance deadline is coming up. You have to submit." And I was like, "There's no way we're gonna get in there. We can't even get people here in town to even like want to work with us." But he talked me into it, and so I submitted online, and then a month later they called me. So
how did you? I mean, obviously you had some friends that were helping make it, but how did you do casting and stuff for this?
Like I was saying, it took a long time. I wrote the first version of the script in like late 2003, and ever since then thought that I was about to make it. So I was always looking, like anytime I did a short film or worked on someone else's project, if I saw an actor that fit one of the roles, I'd go talk to him and be like, "You got to be in my movie." And so I'd actually cast all the main roles like 4 or 5 years before we started shooting. And then when the day came with me and my closest filmmaker friends, when we were like, "Okay, life is going by, nothing's happening. We're gonna have to just make this movie." I called, some of them were my friends that had been around, and some of them I hadn't talked to in a while. And I called them all and was like, "Do you guys still want to do this?" And they all said yes.
One interesting thing about the film is you guys built your own camera mod to that. You care to talk about how that came about? Actually, Trey, can you get the internet up there? Trey, you up there?
Uh-oh.
I can't see. Okay, never mind. Anyway, if you can go to Coatwolf.com, right?
Yeah, Coatwolf.com.
And there's a big, beautiful picture of that bad boy.
It's just a hobby I got into when I first started making short films. I had a little crappy camcorder, and I heard about this company was making this 35mm adapter that you could put 35mm lenses, and it was $10,000, and I was like, well, I'm never gonna be able to afford that, but I was like, I bet you we could build one. So I started trying to build one, and it's not that hard actually. It's like a fairly simple device, but by the time I'd actually got it to look good, I think I learned a bunch of stuff about optics, and I realized there was all these cool things you could do by customizing optics.
Like focus grounds and stuff like that?
Yeah, and using different sizes, like the crazy camera, the one that we used to shoot, that we built just to shoot this scene where I'm covered in blood at the end, walking in the street, is a large format camera, so the image plane is 4 inches by 5 inches and uses still photography 4x5 lenses. So I think it's the only moving 4x5 image that exists in the world. But
now, just looking at the film, a lot of the scenes kind of differ as far as selective focus and coloring and stuff. Is most of that post effects, like on the computer?
It's almost entirely in camera, which is
wow.
it's sort of. I hope this isn't boring. Some people that aren't technical.
Yeah, people are like, "See ya."
So basically, the camera we use. I was a beta tester for years for this digital cinema camera. It's very similar to Red. If anybody knows what Red is, but
did you say it was the same one they used for Slumdog Millionaire?
Yeah, they shot Slumdog Millionaire on it in 127 hours. They've done some other stuff, but that's the one most people know. But the camera has color correction software built in, and then all the custom optic stuff that I build, we had 4 different setups that we shot the movie on, and each one of them has like a lot of vintage and weird parts that messes up the color, and you have to color correct it back to even make it usable. And then I think something to do with the materials and losing different wavelengths of light, you're able to kind of get unique color correction color schemes. And we've had a lot of these cameras, and me and Joel Hodge, the cinematographer, have been shooting together for so long, it came to the point where like, for every scene, it wasn't just like, how are we gonna set this up? We're like, oh, we're gonna use this camera on this scene, and this camera on this scene, and each one of them comes with a kind of a set of looks you can do with it, which is how the movie, it's almost entirely how it was shot. So
Interesting. So did that feed into the kind of the build stuff of the car and the flamethrower, or was it the other way around? Were you more interested in building that kind of stuff and then filmmaking, or were they organic?
It was cameras and filmmaking first. Like, I think I'd always thought it'd be cool to build a crazy car and a flamethrower since I was a kid, but you'd never really have a reason to like spend every last cent you can get your hands on building a crazy muscle car, because there's like no reason to.
Right.
So I had the idea that the characters were doing it, and then when the time came to make the movie and we weren't funded, we're like, well, I guess we're gonna have to do this too. Yeah. So,
what was that process like? I mean, what do you do? Let's just start with the flamethrower.
Oh,
like,
flamethrower.
How do you build that?
If you're technical minded, it's like pretty easy to build a flamethrower. It's like
I'm not.
It's just a pressurized tank with fuel in it, like gasoline.
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
just
and a
like,
valve to let it out.
Easy.
And ignite it. I've been working on that a lot longer. But then the car, we had the car to transform in the movie, and we were shooting, you know, back to back. We had all of us kind of like half of us quit our jobs and all moved in on each other's couches and stuff. And we're just like, we're going to shoot every day till it's done, because if we stop, we'll never start again, because we didn't have any money. So there was many days when there would go like, you know, I wouldn't even lay down for a second at night. Like, we'd finish shooting and I'd just be on the car, like trying to put a roll cage in with Paul. And then the sun would come up and we'd still be finishing it, and they'd be like, we got to go.
Because then you got to film,
yeah,
like right
yeah,
after you're
yeah.
done working on the.
So it was. I mean, the car is awesome. It's like the coolest toy in the world. Everything on it works. You know, it has like smoke screen, those flamethrowers, and cameras. It's all controlled from the dashboard.
And it is your car, right?
Yes, it's my car now.
That you drive around.
Yes, when I can afford to. It's like it takes a lot of gas.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
A small Arab country is indebted to.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. I also heard some stuff about some mishaps and things with the fire, like almost catching some power lines on fire.
Yeah, there was a lot of almost mishaps.
Almost death.
I know, like one of the things when I think all of us were so, like, because almost everybody working in this movie is someone that like came out to Hollywood and like kind of following the dream. And it wasn't working out for any of us, but we'd all worked together and we kind of believed in each other. And so there was this thing that happened where we started kind of being like, okay, anything that happens in the movie, we have to just do it for real, because it might make the movie like this much better and kind of increase our chances of our dream coming true. And so that's, I think, where all the stuff, where some of the stunts we were doing, where it was more real than it is in most movies. It was like almost like this, like showing our dedication to the movie. And before we started, we thought, like I thought anyway, I was like, something is going to go wrong before this is over. But it didn't. It didn't. Like, the car caught on fire twice, which sounds dramatic, and it was at the moment, but it ended up not being so bad. We were able to put it out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And,
but you talk about doing it for real. I mean, you're walking around with a flamethrower in a residential area, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
You weren't at all worried that police officers were going to swarm you?
No, we were totally worried. Everybody always thinks that's one of the craziest. Like, that, to me, that's one of the less crazy things we did.
That made me nervous.
But it's one of those things when you think about it, you're like, it could have gone terribly wrong or nothing could have happened. Because we had a camera with us and a bunch of people. So people see us and they don't just think some crazy guy's walking around with a flamethrower. They see like a bunch of people standing around with a camera, following the guy with the flamethrower.
Like, that's cool. Okay, yeah. I'll live with that.
So it's like the cops could have stopped and thrown us all in prison,
yeah.
or it just could have gone off without a hitch.
Yeah, I kind of thought maybe you could use that excuse, like you had brain damage or whatever from a car wreck, and they'd be, oh, okay.
Yeah.
He's got brain damage. But, talking about the story, do you care about telling, what's based on real life versus what was fiction, or how the script writing process went? I mean, don't get in depth, but I'm just saying, I mean, it's sort of based on a relationship you had.
Yeah, I mean, I
not
went,
to that extent.
Yeah, I went through a relationship that obviously, at the time, my perception was that one half of it was like heaven and the other half was like hell. And the bad part lasted, like, the breakup itself lasted like 9 months. And it was brutal, so I think afterwards, trying to figure out what had happened, the idea for the script came in, and that was really what the idea was that there was going to be this movie that had these two very different halves. Where the first half was like, it was like a dreamy memory of the first half going so well, and the second half was it coming apart.
Did you think of that when you were doing the titles on the film, like the little title cards? Like, was that part of that, kind of splitting up into sections, or how did that happen?
The title cards came in. We edited for so many years. We were still editing and reshooting and picking up shots we didn't get. And at one point I was trying to make sure I had the structure down, and I put in like 30 title cards. Like, every 3 scenes had like a title card that was sort of like what the intention was. And then I fell in love with them and deleted, 25 of them and left those other ones in. So those were unplanned.
Cool. one thing, our film festival director, Brent Renault, is doing Occupy Wall Street in New York, but he texted me, wanted me to ask you a question.
Okay.
He's sorry he couldn't be here, but he said with the success of this movie, you'll probably have offers to direct movies with other people's money now, but with that comes a loss of control on some level. And he says, what made Bellflower so unique is his independent vision and execution. With your next film, do you think you're going to go it alone or take the risk on bigger budgets, or do you think you can have both at this point?
That is the battle that me and a couple of other guys are beginning right now. Like, it started a couple months ago I have agents now, which is all brand new to me. And I've been taking meetings with all these production companies and studios and all that stuff, and trying to understand where we want to come in. Because like he says, basically, the more money we take, the less control we have. So we're trying to figure out where the happy medium is, where there's someone that believes in us and isn't going to, give us money and then be like, okay, we better have a movie in 4 months.
Yeah.
Or we're going to pull the plug,
Yeah. And I asked you too, if you could go back in time and you had an endless budget, what you would have done differently for this film, and you just stated it was that one scene that you would have shot differently.
Yeah, the Medusa Car burning out in slow motion. Halfway through the shot, flames would have started coming out. Which we had it rigged for, but it just kept malfunctioning that day. And we spent like a couple days just working on the igniters for the Medusa flamethrowers to make them like foolproof, and went back to shoot that shot again, which was always stressful because it was guerrilla and it was making that car is unbelievably loud in person. It shakes you. Finally gonna get it, and we did it, and I was hitting the button, like trying to drive the car, everything at the same time, and like control the dashboard, and it kept not going, and we had to hurry, so we left, and I finally was like, why didn't they work? And it had run out of gas. So it was like the dumbest thing, because the gas tank is like an 8-gallon gas tank in the trunk, and when you fill it up, you can shoot the flames like 100 times.
Wow.
So, but the shot turned out cool, and we're like, we better just leave it.
Yeah. So with the other car that you had, the Speed Biscuit, was it?
Yes, the Speed Biscuit.
Was that working too, the whiskey dispenser?
Yes, that was all working as well. We cleaned out the windshield washer and cleaned out the pump really well, and just repiped it to that switch in the dashboard and that spout, and you could just put whatever you want in there.
Was that your idea personally?
Yes, my very first car when I was 16, I spent all this time starting to customize it. And that was going to be like the holy grail of things I was going to do to it, because I was like, I'm going to impress the shit out of my friends with this. And then, like an idiot, I got excited and I went for a drive with one of my friends before I got my driver's license, and then it caused a mess anyway. Oh, okay. So I never really got to do it.
Well, I think that could catch on, man. I think people are going to be like, with my next, Passat or whatever, I want that installed. Want to take some questions from the audience? Anybody out there have some questions for Evan about Bellflower? Yes, sir.
Oh, the Medusa Car? It's parked outside my house in Ventura. It literally is my only car. Like, it's the only car I have. Which I was driving it almost all year, and then finally it started, like, the gas really is absurd, like how much gas it takes. So I only drive it sometimes to the store.
You drive the motorcycle on other days, like alternate?
No, the motorcycle and the Speed Biscuit both got impounded when we were really broke. It went on for so long. If you left them parked in the same spot for more than 3 days, the law in Ventura, they tow them. So we tried to stay on top of it, but if they got impounded, it was like $1,000 to get them out, and we were just like, bye. But the Medusa Car we had to hold on to.
Cool. Any more questions from the audience? Yeah.
Wow,
it's a bitch, ain't it?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, the way it was shot 90 days in the summer of 2008. That was their initial thing we did, and the majority of the scenes with just 2 people talking is what we got. The Medusa Car blew up, and there was any time we were out of town, we couldn't afford to get all of us out of town, so that's the stuff we were shooting later. I think most of the stuff already had the continuity from that. As far as as far as the stuff that we didn't shoot there, I think that all of us were just so deep in the project and knew it so well. It was easy to get back into it. So,
yes.
Yeah, we've talked about it. We've talked about like building them to sell and all kinds of stuff, and it hasn't seemed like a top priority, I guess. But But they're like, oh, thank you. They really are. They're simple devices. Like they can get complex by like the stuff you choose to put in them. But the device itself is so simple. I don't think there's anything you can patent in it.
There's a big market for that kind of stuff, though.
Yeah. No, I think you can do something like that with the Lens Baby. Do you know what that is? It's a weird. They start out making toys almost, but they have a whole line of them. They're lenses that have TiltShift built into them, so you can. I don't know if you can get that much with that, but that's what we have. 2 of our cameras have. The camera itself has a bellows, so you don't use the focusing mechanism built into the lens. You just use the bellows, and we just get really fast lenses, and you can just adjust the front standard for perspective and TiltShift and all that stuff. So you can just throw the lens totally sideways and make it the focus be like a line like this. So something in the middle is like the only thing that's there.
Yeah, it's kind of like you have your glass connected by like an accordion kind of thing.
Yeah,
almost.
yeah. Like it's just like how they do a large format camera. So.
Anybody else? Questions? Yes, sir.
Oh, yes, that's a good question. I don't know. I write a lot. Like I get ideas, so I have a script that I've been working on in the background for the last 2 years, and I'm just gonna make that one, and hopefully it works out. Yes, it's really light comedy. It's like yeah.
Did you say you had some kind of trilogy or something planned?
There's a weird idea that I have that connects these a couple movies, but they're not actually connected. Like it's like you almost wouldn't know unless you were told.
Sure.
It's like they take place in the same world.
Oh, okay.
So
Interesting.
yeah.
Somebody up in the balcony. Yes, Neil.
Everything but the tattooed. People have told me before that when my beard first showed up, they thought it was fake because I have the craziest beard with like holes in it everywhere.
I got that too, man.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. It'll be okay.
We got a support group meeting
Yeah.
tomorrow. Right? I had a theory about the facial hair. I kind of feel like, maybe I'm way off base, but I just want to throw this out there, that somehow that represents testosterone and the id of the male, and that fuels kind of your changes, like when you get shaved versus fully grown beard, that kind of brings on this new personalities. And the tattoo happens, maybe that's kind of a new form of the superego. I don't know.
Yes, I think there's probably a million different ways to describe the same idea because it's just an idea, right?
Yeah.
But I think that definitely is part of it, and also like the really simple thing of just how like she's pushing the beard on him, so she's kind of like forcing him to change, and he goes with it. Which the thing I've always thought was funny about it is that I think any relationship I've actually been in, I always want to grow my crazy beard in and not shave. And the girls are always like, don't grow that crazy beard in.
Yeah.
And they want me to shave, and in the movie it's the reverse.
Yeah, because then Courtney is cutting her hair in one scene, so I thought there was like a interesting tango of hair growth. And I don't know. Maybe I'm weird.
No, you are weird, but I think it's accurate.
I liked it. I was kind of scared, like when I picked you up at the airport, I was like, what's his beard going to be like today? I was like nervous. I was like, I better not let him drive. This could be crazy. Any more questions for Evan? Yes.
That doesn't include like most of the actors paying for their own gas to drive from LA to Ventura every day and paying for their own food. But as far as like hard money that anywhere we had sold something and got like $1,000 or money like that, anything we bought that was significant, that stuff all added up to $17,000. Oh no. I mean, everybody. I mean, we wish we could have, but everybody knew. Like when everybody, it was like we were like everybody was in on it as a friends. They all knew that like there was no like person to like look up to and be like, hey, you're not taking care of me. It was like everybody's doing this.
We're going to Wendy's and everybody's buying.
Yeah, exactly. There was a couple days, we would get like 99-cent menu if we had the extra money. So we could get like 20 99-cent hamburgers and feed people.
And then you said you guys had moved into an office for a couple months while filming?
Yes, that was sort of where it started. I think I was working for this startup company, and they started going under, and so they had this half of the building that was just completely unused, and I had a good relationship with them, and I kind of figured out, I was like, oh, that's sort of like be a good headquarters. So they kind of looked the other way. That was actually during the first 3 months, that 3 months time that we shot, I always say we slept on each other's couches because that's what we did the rest of the time. And it's a shorter explanation, but we were actually all squatting in this office building. And that's how everybody was able to quit their jobs and have a place to still sleep. It was a very crazy time.
You know, all the locations, did y'all film all that in Ventura?
Yeah, almost everything's shot in Ventura except for that scene where Tyler's riding the three-wheel bicycle around in the beginning. A lot of that shot in North Hollywood. Which it's the neighborhood where I was living, where I went through the relationship, and where I had a lot of the ideas, so I always wanted to include that as sort of part of it.
So even like the landscape shots when you're driving and stuff, that's all close?
Oh, no, that was the stuff we couldn't afford to get, where we had to drive to the desert
and
get things with the Medusa car and things like that. That's the stuff we couldn't get during the initial shoot.
That was real pretty stuff. I mean, that stuff looked really good.
Oh, thanks.
You're pretty. No. Any more questions before I get totally gay on this guy? Yes. Kat.
The real one?
Actress. Oh.
Yes.
Not the actress?
Yeah. So yes, she has. She actually has like been a part of like this whole process. Like she's one of the first people that read the script. She's like actually one of my closest friends in the world. So both of us, the time period, like we drove each other insane, but we're not enemies at all. So.
Very interesting. Yes, Courtney.
It's sort of both ways. Like every main person in the movie, the main characters, I all met as actors and had the idea that they should be in this movie. But by the time we shot, like we had become like such close friends. We'd worked on tons of other projects and just like hung out together all the time. So by the time we started shooting, it really felt like it was my group of friends. I mean, it was. No, it's just from like being around town, like working on projects. Like someone asks you to come run camera on a short film that they're doing or a music video, and over the years you meet people, and like, I mean that's how I met pretty much everybody. Something like that.
Sir, do you have a question?
Oh, you mean like where the ideas came from? Oh, the Mad Max ideas. I mean, I think me and my best friend had a legitimate obsession with Mad Max when we were in like elementary school and middle school, and the first idea I had was the first version of the script was like none of that stuff was in it. It was just the relationships. It was like kind of the same structure, but without the flamethrower and the muscle car and Mad Max. And I had the idea that they were building a flamethrower, and I think from thinking about that over the years of working on the script, I was extrapolating it, being like, why would they be building a flamethrower? Oh, they're obsessed with the apocalypse. Well, obviously that would come from Mad Max, and like, it was just literally from just working overtime on the script.
Anybody else? Yes, Josh. Improvised.
Yeah. Everything was scripted. So I think it's the same thing where it's like I knew everybody so well and stuff. I kind of understand how they all talk, and I would write it thinking about how they talk. And also the way we shoot, we would try and change at least one or two words every take. Like a lot of the actors don't like to, in the movie didn't do any, but like Tyler, like sometimes Tyler goes off script and makes jokes and stuff, and a lot of those ended up in.
Anybody else? I just have one thing. I heard a story about a meeting you had with Puff Daddy.
Oh, yes.
You want to talk about that?
Yeah.
Was it Jimmy Kimmel?
No, it was Carson Daly.
Carson Daly. Yeah.
That was like part of like the Sundance thing was like the whirlwind. We went to Sundance, and all of a sudden our movie did super well at Sundance, and everybody was talking about us, and our movie sold, and we were like, holy crap, it was going to get picked up for theatrical, or got picked up for theatrical. And then the next thing we did was we went to South by Southwest, and now we had a publicist, and our movie was sold, and so they got me on Carson Daly, which was the first time I'd ever done anything like that, which was insane enough. So they were shooting, I was with Carson shooting a segment on the show, and then P. Diddy just apparently saw us shooting, because it was during South by Southwest, and just walked up and was like, what's up, guys? And Carson's like, oh, this is this broke-ass filmmaker who made this cool movie. And he's like, you're broke? And I'm like, yeah. And he just pulled out like a huge wad of cash and gave me $1,000. And then made some joke about how I was white and he was black, and it was kind of backwards, which was no. I thought it was awesome. I was totally broke. Awesome. It was totally awesome. And it was funny because we were like that same day we were trying to figure out, because we didn't have enough gas to get the Medusa car home. We'd driven it all the way to Texas. And I was like, you guys, we got to figure out how to get gas money. And I'm like, oh, I got to go be on Carson. What the hell is going on? So I go over there, and then so me and Joel went on this like road trip and went to the Grand Canyon and like partied the whole way back with P. Diddy's money. So
I think that's an amazing story to end on. Thank you guys for coming. I would like to mention that the DVD and Blu-ray's coming out next week, November 15th, right?
Yeah, it's coming out next week.
It's also available on iTunes?
Yeah, it's on iTunes, Netflix, Target, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, like I think most of the places that, yeah.
So Christmas presents for all your friends and for yourselves. Please buy this movie, support indie
I think it's
film.
going on Netflix Instant as well.
Yeah, but buy it too also.
Also
Watch it
buy
on
it.
Instant, then buy it. But again, let's give Evan a hand. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you guys for coming.